I've been doing it 20 plus years. I don't owe anybody a dollar. That's what I'm most proud of. Like, I'm always me. Like, what you see is what you get, whether it's online or in person. And I always tell you, like, bet on yourself. Don't take shorts. Don't take bad deals. A deal is a deal. Like, it's basic business principles. Hey, what's going on, Manny?
Hey, not much. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
Good, good. So, hey, man, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for being on here. I actually feel it's a privilege because early on when me and Reggie was like looking to get started in the promotion game, you really took us under your wing, right? And that really meant a lot to us. And what you taught us, a lot of it, I didn't realize how important it was until we kind of branched off on our own, right? Just teaching us like the stuff to look out for and whatnot. So I'm not just inviting you on here just because in the past I've learned so much from you, and I feel like you could really give a lot to a lot of other people that want to get into the promotional game.
Well, I thank you for the introduction. My style of life in general is just simple. I feel you sell yourself. If people actually like you, they're willing to support, whether it be events or any product that you sell. So what you get from me is actually a combination of my grandmother, my mother, and my stepdad and my upbringing. So I always say, like, you know what you know. So pretty much anything that I taught you over the years, business-wise, came from experience. So we connected at a good time. It's around 2008.
Man, don't get my age. People still think I'm in my 20s. You know what I'm saying? You gotta put me out there.
So by that time, I was already ready to dip out of the game. Probably like every 2 or 3 years, I say I'm going to retire. So I was probably in my mid-30s at that time, and you guys created a nice little buzz in the college scene. So I figured I'd reach out to you guys, and I'm constantly, like you said, every couple of years, trying to reinvent myself. So to do that, you need to bring in some new blood. So that's pretty much how we connected. I feel like good people always come together, and that's pretty much how I look at things.
So to be honest, a lot of people reached out to us, and a lot of people we work with, but and I think that even if you talk to Reggie, you kind of like took us under your wings. And I know we were new to the game, we were real excited, and you dealt with us, you know? And some of the stuff that, like, the little stuff you probably don't even remember, like when you sat us down and like, is Jovan's even open anymore?
Nah, Jovan's is a church. So
is a church?
Yeah, I think it's crazy because probably the 3 biggest clubs that I've done is Cosmopolitan, Sanctuary, and Jovan's. They all turned to churches after I left them, so I think that's kind of a sign.
Yeah. Oh, Shawn Medina, the pastor. Hey, if y'all think Shawn
to be saved after I left my mark on them. So.
All right. Yeah. So what I want to go with is, so we know you're a promoter, right? And you do a lot of business stuff. Tell me a little bit about your brands, like the companies you have right now.
Okay, so right now, to be honest with you, I kind of shifted gears about 3 years ago. Actually, April makes 3 years. So event promotion is just my passion. I like bringing people together. I'm the old man in the game, but I still like curating events and putting events together. So it's changed. Like some of the stuff I did early back in the days, high risk, high reward. We did like a lot of the hip hop stuff. And when I first started out, it pretty much was all, if you were lucky, you might get like a Sunday or a Monday night to do a hip hop night. And I just kind of stuck to what I wanted to do. To be honest with you, I wanted to throw events for Black people. There wasn't many in Providence. Boston, it was literally non-existent. So like this whole resurgence of like hip hop, you see hip hop 7 days a week before like the pandemic. You can go to probably like Federal Hill in Providence, Atwells Ave. 7 to 8 years ago, you would probably see maybe 1 out of 100 people would be minorities on the block. Now the whole demographics changed. So you have Dominican club owners, half of the people that attend the events on that little strip are minorities. And when I was first coming out, like that just never existed. So what I always try to do was give my people an outlet to party. So that's pretty much how I got started in Providence.
Oh, okay, no, but so let me feed off of that. A lot of people just jump into wanting to start a business or jump into entrepreneurship solely off of the money. So they look at what they think is making money and just do it. So what I'm hearing from you is you had a passion or a cause of what you wanted to do. Like you wanted to, like, you didn't see something for Black people, so you did that to more help the community in a sense, because they were being deprived, and in the inner cities, like, they're scared of Black events. So is that what like drove you to get into that?
Well, I've always been a music person. So to be honest with you, how I actually started was in college. So I went to UMass Dartmouth. You guys graduated probably like 11, 12 years after I did. But I went to UMass Dartmouth. I was involved in a couple of different groups, and they would host events. So basically how it worked back then is you couldn't make any like for-profit type events. So if you hosted an event like a certain fraternity, the money would go back through the school cuts you a check, and then the fraternity would use that to cover costs, whether it be for books, a small scholarship, and so forth. So what I noticed at that time at UMass Dartmouth is they would, the school itself would actually go out and book through different agencies like William Morris, Walt Reader Productions. So they would actually go out and pay money to a third party to secure entertainment. So what I actually decided to do at that time is I saw the opportunity. There really wasn't too many like minority events going on campus where they were bringing in artists. I was always big into music. I went to URI before I went to UMass Dartmouth. My roommate was Andre Samuel, who was good friends from Maceo from De La Soul. We just always kept in contact. So when I was at URI, I did a couple of spot events. Maceo gave me plugs with a couple of DJs. So what I actually was able to do was, while I was in school, I formed my own LLC or production company. So I realized that if the school was willing to pay William Morris Agency 10, 15, 20% to book an artist, why can't Shawn Medina get paid for that money? So what I started doing was, I've always been like the social butterfly. So me and my buddies, even when we were in school, we'd take our weekend trips to New York. We linked up with different DJs. So what I did is I formed an LLC while I was in school, and I started acting as the middleman for different organizations. So I think like the first event that I middleman was Tony Touch and DJ Lazy K. So we did a party at UMass Dartmouth, which wasn't a party school. Me and Skip, it was like Iota Phi Theta was the fraternity that we went through. So what I did is I went to New York, got the contracts done with the artist. I turned around and I contracted them back to the fraternity. So I made a couple bucks off the event. And literally we did like 1,200 people for that particular event. Did a couple of small events with like DJ Juice and so forth. And then the school itself found out that I was doing bookings. So this is way back, but I don't know if you guys remember the DJ Cool, Let Me Clear My Throat, Dougie Fresh. Yeah. If not, y'all can Google it if you were born after 1985. So what I did for that is I booked it. So I had a good relationship with Walt Reader Productions. They put a contract in my name. I turned around and put the contract in UMass Dartmouth names with me being the middleman. So I've always liked music, and I always had the entrepreneurial spirit. So I figure if someone's going to eat off it, it might as well be me. So the money I made off booking shows at UMass Dartmouth pretty much covered my tuition. So that's how I got started with promoting, more or less.
So what's a mentor or something a mentor, someone, advice they gave you early on that really stuck with you and you would think really helped you throughout your career as an entrepreneur?
To be honest with you, I've been blessed. Like growing up in New Bedford, when I grew up, you were basically raised on survival. So you automatically had like that hustler's mentality in you. The good thing is, like, I was literally, it sounds corny, but one of the few that actually had a mom and a stepdad at home. So I was scared. So pretty much, as long as my schoolwork was where it needed to be, I was allowed to play sports. And given the opportunity to play sports and my parents making sure that I did well in school, it gave me the opportunity to go to college. So I was able to hang around with some friends that may have not done the right thing, but were on the business side of stuff. And then I was also able to do well in school. So I always had a good balance. So when I initially graduated college, I worked as a portfolio manager at Bank of America. And it's funny because I was there, I think I graduated in 96. I started working in Bank of America in 1997. So dealing with people's finances and seeing how people, I would deal with the top 400 accounts branch level. So I had people that would come into the bank with $400,000 in an old passbook account. That's also something you young guys got to Google. It would be like 0.1, 0.2%. Then I would have the investment specialist in the bank tell me how you should put money in CDs and money market funds. So I always had a good balance of like being connected to the streets kind of music wise and just where I grew up. And it always was offset by like the corporate America thing. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. Like I always thought like when I did the club thing, one of the things that got me over is I could have a logical conversation with a club owner, but I can also talk to the customers that were coming in through the door. And the more people you can relate to, the bigger opportunity you have to actually make some money. So I think that's one of the things I mastered. If you're good with people, you'll make money. Like you don't have to really be an expert at many things. I have a saying. I say it to my kids, I say it to fellow promoters, and I say it in corporate America. If you're smart enough to identify the problem, you should be smart enough to identify the solution. And if not, you should be able to pay somebody to come up with the solution. So being good with people is something that will always make you money regardless of what field you're in. So I had a good balance. Like I've had mentors that ran the streets, and I've had mentors that worked straight in corporate America. And I think incorporating the two kind of put me to where I am now, like with the entrepreneurial spirit.
All right. I always remember you telling us how you brought Jay-Z to Providence, and I was like, man, like he brought Jay-Z. And that was huge.
Yeah, we did that. It was funny. It was Volume 3, Life and Times of Shawn, Volume 3. When that was out, that is when it's funny that you mentioned that. That is when Hot 106 was doing like all the shows in Providence. So it was a Hot 106 night. I actually met Shendi Sage, who's still one of my good friends. She worked at Sony at the time. She's one of my Instagram friends. So it's funny, again, and it's probably not something that I should be ultra proud of, but that's where like being in the business and knowing certain people that did certain things paid off. If you guys remember like any of the old Jay-Z records where he always shout out Tone from VA, Tone Capone, Tone from VA. Mm-hmm. So basically I had friends that did business with Tone out in Virginia, and they put me in touch with Tone. And literally today, it was like 98, 99, but we booked Jay-Z for Cosmopolitan for like $5,000, which was ridiculous. And it was the same thing, like it was last minute. It was like week of, we kept going back and forth with numbers, and finally we agreed to $5,000. And it was crazy because even at the time, and that's why I mess with Jay-Z, is the after party hustle was Tone Capone's hustle. So basically he would follow Jay from location to location, whatever after parties Tone set up, Jay let him eat off it. And that's just dope to me. Like he put his boy onto the game. Like he had the fame, his boy had a little hustle, and he basically used his face as his boys come up. So that was dope. But we did Jay-Z at Cosmopolitan. We had Busta Rhymes DJ at the time came through, Scratch a Tour, Soleil. I don't know if you guys remember Soleil. Google it. She actually has kids with Genuine. But yeah, that was again with like doing business and knowing people that do another type of business kind of merged.
That balance.
It was dope. Yeah. And that's how a lot of connections were made for me early on.
All right. So one thing with entrepreneurship is not always easy. You're not always getting the Jay-Z's and you know, and and the Trey songs. That's one of them I did with you. That was real dope. Sometimes you have those discouragements, right? So, so one question I have: when was the time you felt completely discouraged? And maybe you don't want to, go into too much details business-wise of the discouragement. And how did you push yourself through it? So that more in a sense of, I just want people out there that want to be entrepreneurs, looking to start their own business, that, hey, it's not all roses, but when you push through that, it's going to make you stronger. So what's the time you felt that way, and what did you push through, and what advice would you give people looking to get into the game of entrepreneurship to get through?
So the first thing you got to do is you have to always be comfortable betting on yourself. Like, it's a roller coaster. I can give you 50 million examples where I thought things went to shit. I can give you 50 million examples where I think everything went smooth. But you have to bet on yourself. So I have events that have made a good amount of money. I've had events that have lost $10, $15, $20,000 in a night. I got into rental properties for a little while. You buy at a decent price. The market goes up. It crashes. And you're still stuck. So I feel the biggest thing that people have to do is you have to be willing to bet on yourself. If you have an idea is not worth shit until you put it into action. So you have to bet on yourself, like, especially like right now, the whole dynamic of like nightclub promotion and just purchasing in general is changing. Like malls are becoming a thing of the past. So do you have an idea that you think you could sell? If you do, you don't have to go the traditional route. Like, you don't have to go and get a storefront now. You can set something up online that will make you some money. In terms of me, you worked with me before. I'm very tough on myself. So I would always rather
and nervous beforehand
underpromise and over-deliver. I'll ask you 50 times in a night, you think this is going to be good? You think it's going to be good? You think it's going to be good? And then when it's decent, I'm like, okay. Bet on yourself. Be realistic. I don't know. I'm wired a certain way. So for me, at the end of the day, I'm always going to say like everything is going to be fine, even if I'm driving myself crazy with it. But you have to bet on yourself. Like, if you're not willing to take risk, you're not going to get anywhere. So that's
big risk.
It's very broad in general, but at the end of the day, if you don't bet on yourself, you probably don't want to be an entrepreneur.
Okay, no, that's good. So with that, what's one key thing if you had, or three key things, like if you had to give 3 points, someone's out there like, yo, Shawn, I want to be an entrepreneur, and you had to give them three, you don't know what business they're going into, you just know it's entrepreneurship, they're starting. What's 3 things you would give them for like advice?
To give 3 general things is tough, because there's so many different ways that you can go with entrepreneurship. Like for me, I dabble like back in corporate America like every couple of years. So the last job I worked as an inside sales manager for a medical device company. Probably about 7 or 8 years before that, I worked Metro PCS. I worked in marketing for Evolution Wireless. So while I was working at as Med in Dedham, a medical device company, like 6 months out of the year, I'm fake fit. The other 6 months out of the year, I'm eating Chinese food and pizza. So I would go to a plaza across the street from my job, and they had like a Dunkin' Donuts in the plaza. They had a Chinese food store in the plaza, a nail shop in the plaza, a laundromat. And I was like, hey, let me reach out to my buddy James Jackson from Evolution Wireless. And I was like, let me see if this is an area he think would be good to start like a Metro PCS at the time. It's now Metro by T-Mobile. So because I was a little bit familiar with the area, and I literally worked within walking distance, I figured it might be a decent business to get started. It wasn't anything I thought I would marry, but do some market research if you want to be an entrepreneur. Like, you need to know like what you're actually getting into.
Market research.
Yeah, you need to know what your target demographic is. For like Metro, something like that. And initially it was launched, like all the prepaid carriers were initially launched in like lower lower income areas, urban areas, but that started branching out. Like the playing field for wireless service, it's changed over the last few years. So I was in Dedham, but I was in East Dedham. So East Dedham is probably equivalent to, say, area. So I did a little bit of research with that, and being that we were next to like a laundromat in the plaza with a Dunkin' Donuts and a CVS, I figured it wouldn't be a bad move for me, so I did it. So I would say do your research, make sure you're comfortable with the product or the service that you're launching. Like you have a lot of people online now that literally they just go out and look for like disruptors, especially with the e-commerce market now. So probably say like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, if you wanted to buy something, what would you do? Especially men, they would have to walk into a mall to buy it. So like now it's a lot easier. You don't have to actually have real inventory. Everybody's heard like Uber is the largest transportation company in the world. Amazon is the largest retailer in the world, and none of them actually have real products. It's just the liaison between the customer and the business itself. So I would say just do your research, bet on yourself, and be prepared to fail. Like it sounds crazy, but if you go into any situation being overly optimistic, like I mentioned it earlier, never overpromise and underdeliver, you'll be fine. And we live in a society now too where everybody's looking for like that instant gratification, like with the whole social media thing. Like if you're looking for instant gratification and you want to be an entrepreneur, it might not be for you. Like unless you literally have a brand and a following already built up before you go into business, sometimes you gotta pump your brakes a little bit. Unless you have money to lose, which I don't know too many people that do.
All right, so quick question, kind of in the middle. So you're giving a lot of nuggets. If someone wants to contact you, the best way just to DM you right here on social media?
Yeah, they can DM me. Like right now with the pandemic, I've had a lot of downtime, so I've been hanging out like in the living room, in the hallway. So we're actually working on a new business on the e-commerce side of things. Now I've actually also started like an online real estate course. So just trying to fill up my downtime now, so the next 5 or 6 weeks are not a complete waste. If anybody does have any like questions, they can DM me here. My personal email is shawn.medina@gmail as well, so they can reach out through my email as well.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to throw that in there because usually you do it at the end and everyone's leaving, so I wanted to be able to.
I thought it was the end, man. You only paid me for like 25 minutes.
5 minutes? All right, no, we're gonna. So, Metro PCS, right? So that's more new, and that's your baby. So, what are some challenges you faced when you were first starting that business? Because it looks like it's doing very well. So,
nothing like out of the ordinary. What's happening, like especially with Metro, is I started it too late. So if I would have gotten to the business about 2 or 3 years earlier, it would have been much smoother. You can't really go about a mile and a half without seeing a Metro now. So what happened is I got a little bit okey-doked. I'll be one to admit it. So when I initially opened my Metro, they were in talks with Sprint about merging with Sprint. So you know, with corporate America, it's all a numbers game. So if they have the ability to open up 2,000, 3,000 stores in a short period of time, inflate the number of people that are actually on the Metro PCS service, they'll do that. So my first store I opened when they were going through, like, you just need to have DNA to open a store. So I did that. Actually, June makes 3 years that I opened up my Dedham location. So nothing other than the major thing I would probably say is I didn't just do like the neighborhood walk around, because my store in Dedham probably had 3 locations within about a mile and a half. So again, I had to, the only thing that can really distinguish my stores from another Metro PCS are the people that work at the stores. So if people like you can sell any type of product. And that's what I really trying to push to like all my staff there. So what's the difference between my Metro PCS and one a mile away? We're selling the same phones at the same price, have the same accessories to go with it. So unless you differentiate yourself with your customer service and people actually like you, it's 50-50. But that's how it is pretty much in any business that you go to. I remember, like with you, one thing, you and Reggie, you were completely opposite, and that's how you need to be in business. So Reggie would come in, he was always the people guy. Like Reggie reminded me of my guy, Paparazzi Rob. He was the people guy, you was the numbers guy. And I remember you would come in and you had like, so we're setting up the website, we got the target demographics, all that stuff is very important. But initially, the relationship you have like with your customers, whether it's promoting or selling phones, I used to tell you, I was like, Manny, that's all well and good, but the people got to like you. If they like you, then you're going to have enough people coming in where you can actually measure the statistics. And with promoting, the good thing is like you can put a face with the name, with the event. Not every business is like that. So like I have 3 stores now. I actually sold one, so say 2.5. I haven't got completely paid for the store I sold. So I'm not always in there. So my job as the owner is to make sure my customer service reps are a good representation of myself. But at the end of the day, your relationship is what makes you money with the customers, because they can always go everywhere else. I used to tell Rob all the time, sometimes we run into issues at the door. These people can give anybody their money. Like they're choosing to give you their money. You don't have to sit there and kiss their ass, but you do have to respect that somebody worked 40 hours a week and they're coming to you to give you their money. And if you respect that relationship, they'll respect it in turn and you'll be good to go. So that's promoting or being a store owner.
No, that's true. If I was doing promotion on my own, I don't think I'd have made any money.
But yeah, it's a good balance. Like that's another thing too. If you're working with somebody, you want to work with somebody that offsets your weaknesses. Like for me, I know what I'm good at. I know what I suck at. I'm actually in the process, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, starting a new e-commerce business. I have 3 partners, and if everything goes according to plan, it's gonna work. I know what I'm good at. I know what my partners are good at. And if we all just do what we're good at, we'll be fine. So it's like, do you want to get 100? You want to get 25% of something or 100% of nothing? So sometimes people don't look at it that way, but that's how I always look at it.
All right. So right now, so from gathering what you're saying, as an entrepreneur and doing what you do, it looks like, if I'm correct, 2 of the industries you're looking at is e-commerce and real estate.
I'm going to go back into real estate. I had the worst experience with my little real estate hustle when I initially started it. I went in as a real estate investor. Now I'm actually going to look to sell houses, and I'll see how that goes. Not sure how the market's going to end up after the pandemic. The stores are something that I'm going to let run its course, but I really feel now like e-commerce is where it's at. I believe since the pandemic, Jeff Bezos and Amazon's gone up $24 billion in value. Zoom, which is just the online conferencing center, has gone up $20 million in value. There's so many businesses out there that don't have good saturation in the market in regards to e-commerce. And on the web, that's just where it's at. Like I'm old, so I'll be 48. My partners in this business are actually 10 years older than me, and then I have one partner that's 10 years younger. So you got to kind of have the balance. But if right now, like younger people, you guys know where it's at. Like you see what's going on now, like during the pandemic. You guys could probably name about 10, 15 apps that are good right now that I cannot even relate to. But the money right now is online, whether it's apps, e-commerce, or so forth. So if you have a hairline as strong as yours, that means you are at the age where you should be able to make something happen. You got to look for the disruptors in business right now.
No, that's interesting, because I actually took a few free courses on e-commerce in the last like week and a half or so. And even though you mentioned Amazon, Alibaba just invested, I think, like 27 billion also into what they're doing. And another one people could look at is AliExpress.
Yeah,
that's Yeah,
Yeah,
there was
DH
some.
Gate is another one as well that sells products directly from China. So it's just like a lot of the stuff that I come across is from other people that I talk to, or just stumble across it in conversation. But the money's out there. Like the brick and mortar, like the old school businesses, like there'll never be a thing of the past because there always has to be certain human interactions in businesses. But right now, like the money is in e-commerce. You're never going to see like this pandemic honestly is going to a lot of companies that were thinking about restructuring, this is their restructure right now. And you're going to see a lot of the retail stores that we go to now, they're going to be things of the past. Traffic at the mall are already down. South Shore Plaza and Braintree is a solid mall. Emerald Square Mall in Providence. Emerald Square Mall, Attleboro, Providence Place Mall, they're all solid. But the smaller malls like Silver City Galleria and Taunton, Swansea Mall, Hanover Mall, that foot traffic
Attleboro.
isn't there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So I feel like the whole dynamic of purchasing is changing. So it's like if you find something now that you think is going to make a process for a person easier, more convenient, save them some time, talk to a couple of your buddies, toss around some ideas, and if it's something that you think you can
Angel.
go with, you should definitely do it.
Yeah. So, because what I've been telling people, one second, let me just close this door. My wife started cooking.
No problem.
Yeah. This pandemic is going to change everything. Everyone's like, I can't wait to go back to the normal. And it's never going to go back.
It's never going to happen. People don't understand, like, what's happening now in the next 2 or 3 months is, it's like the appetizer to the meal we are really about to get served. Like, it's going to change. And I feel that a lot of people don't realize how much the dynamic of things are going to change moving forward. So what you need to really do is get into survival mode for the next couple of months while this is happening, but be ready to adapt because I just really feel a lot of things are going to change. People are always going to go to clubs and lounges. They're always going to eat at restaurants, but anything else that people have adapted to, it has become a lot easier during the pandemic. They're going to stick to it. Like, again, Amazon is up 24 billion. It's not a coincidence. Zoom is up. It's not a coincidence. Business travel is going to stop going down. People are going to switch more to an online business model versus having the brick and mortar stores. Like, it's just going to happen. So we have a lot of old school people that don't want to accept it, but it's going to happen. It's the normal as we know it. I personally feel is a thing in the past. I haven't read any books on it or anything, but I just I don't think the normal is not what people are going to be, not what people are used to anyway.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
Because I've been telling a lot, well, not a lot, people that I talk to, directly, because I don't want to be the doom and gloom. But what I'm trying to let people know is like, a lot of people are joking online, like, yo, I'm working from home, but I'm not doing much and whatnot. And I'm like, to be honest with you, if you're not doing much, your employer knows that.
Yeah.
So if they're getting by right now without you doing much, they're going to replace you.
Yeah.
And
the biggest cost, not to cut you off, in business is payroll in most cases. So if they find out now that one person can do the work of 3, like, you're talking about 24 million people apply for unemployment. Maybe 12 million will get their jobs back. So that's 12 million people that don't have jobs. So that's the part of it that I feel like a lot of people miss. They're not going to get hired back, unfortunately, because these businesses still have to build up their assets to be able to increase their payroll and hire these people back. So again, not to be doom and gloom, but I'm a Raider fan, so I'm very realistic. So I really just always trying to be realistic and trying to step ahead.
So and that's a big reason why I really got on this, because a lot of people are laughing. I'm like, there's a lot of employers that the government, in a sense, almost like they know that, hey, if you keep these many people, you could do this or whatnot, and they kind of keep you on for a reason. And now they have a legit reason to cut you, even when they don't have to in some cases. And And entrepreneurship, in a sense, is going to be good not only for your business, but it could show other people what you can do, right?
Yeah,
That you're
definitely.
passionate.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like now's the time. If you ever had thoughts of starting your own business, like while you have some downtime now, you might as well put some time into it. I don't know what it's going to be looking like in terms of banking and lending. You hear mixed signals on like, yo, should you have good credit or stay? You need to have credit. Credit is going to give you buying power. But again, if you can figure out the next Uber, the next Amazon, which it could be in a certain lane. Like it's hard to hit that. You're not going to hit the grand slam, but if you can figure out something that's going to bring you in what you are making plus a little bit more while you're working from home, why not do it? And I really do feel like e-commerce is the way to go. So, and I'm still new at that. So like,
Yeah, nah.
there's a bunch of different ways that you can go without actually like breaking the bank initially. So find a product that is not heavily saturated on the web now and heavily saturated.
Exactly. No. And we'll always tell people like, look at 9/11. After
Yeah.
9/11, everything that they put on stayed there and they doubled it, right? So, and as we said, both of us, we don't want to be doom and gloom, but a lot of people have a lot of ideas, and one's fear. I feel fear is the number one, that people don't do it. Two, they always say they don't have time. They have time now. And three, the knowledge, where you have Harvard courses that are free. You have all these people that do e-commerce are giving their courses. Well, not fully, because they get part of a course to make you, pay for the bigger one. But even if you do their free one, just get that knowledge. Now is the time to start and keep on going. And be wise. Don't just jump on everything. But I think it's a good time to pivot. And Norm is never going to be the same. Norm will never be the same. So one thing is, a lot of people, when you ask them like, hey, like, how's it going? Whatever happened with that business idea? And it seems like most people try to blame their kids, right? Oh, I got kids now, like this, But you have two, from what I see, very, very smart. I think they get over you a lot, right? Beautiful, and just from watching you online, right? You have a legit relationship with them, right? And you're doing your business. So when you're an entrepreneur, it's not like 9 to 5 and you could just do stuff, right? So what advice would you give people that are probably already in the entrepreneurship or looking to get in there, but they have kids, like some advice or whatnot?
Yeah. My advice is, if your excuse is you can't be an entrepreneur because you have kids, just go work at McDonald's. Like, not to be a jerk. Like, there comes a level where you have to, like, having kids is a reason why you should be an entrepreneur and want to make more money. Like, one thing I would say is, especially like with my oldest, like, I promoted. So I worked on the weekends at night. So that gave me the ability to like bring my daughter to school, pick her up from school, bring her to dance lessons, gymnastic lessons. Like, being an entrepreneur and working on the weekends, like, that's what made our relationship so dope. So it's going to depend. Like, would you want to sacrifice a couple extra hours now so they're good later? Like, that's how you have to look at it. Like, it's a balance, but you have to be realistic with yourself. Like, there's things that I should be doing that I don't do. But at the end of the day, it's not because any given reason. It's because I'm being an asshole and I choose not to do it. So it's just, hold yourself accountable. Bet on yourself, but you have to hold yourself accountable. Like, having kids is a reason why maybe you should be an entrepreneur. Like, when I opened up my first store, it was to supplement my income I was making working as an inside sales manager. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to leave a pretty good job to just open up one store. I did both at the same time. So it varies. But again, that's not That's not a reason. It's not
The
even a
reason,
reason, Manny. Come on, man.
no. Hey, what I do
No,
is
I get what you're
I go over the internet and I look. You know what I'm saying? So I like to ask questions that
Yeah,
I know people are asking.
yeah,
And for the people out there, if y'all have any questions, I may not be able to get all of them, but
yeah.
shoot them up there and I ask Shawn because we're about to be ended soon. But if you have any
Yeah.
questions, shoot them up and I'll ask them. Um, so. So what we talk about e-commerce. What do you think about the real estate? I know you and you're real close with Noah. My last interview
Yeah,
was Noah.
yeah,
Noah, man, he gave some like great insights.
yeah,
Me personally, I listened to that
yeah,
interview
yeah, yeah,
and took
yeah,
some stuff down. So what is your from the side of sales, like
yeah,
selling real estate?
yeah.
What are some insights you could give on that if that's something that you
I'm
think?
not well versed in real estate, but I do ask Noah as well. But you can't go wrong in real estate, especially if you're able to buy and hold. Like that's literally what it is all about. The market has been crazy lately, so the prices have been exorbitant. I don't know what's going to happen after the pandemic. I ask people questions. My friend Justin, we were talking the other day. Like I always ask if I don't know anything. If I don't know on a certain topic, I'm not afraid to ask. So I asked him what he thinks is going to happen in real estate sales, like after the pandemic. He said it's probably going to drop about 10%. So just like how you reach out to Noah, me and you linked up. Surround yourself with people that know things that you don't know that you can all bring to a table and partner up with. Like especially like, yeah, I want minorities to win. Like I want black people to win. I want everybody to win. That's just how I was raised. But it feels even better when like one of my people win. Like again, it's not corny, but I grew up in New Bedford, so we grew up like 70s, 80s. People struggle, but I have like good friends now that are lawyers, that run their own businesses, that are higher ups in companies. So you just want to see your people win. Myself and Jonathan Texera, he does real estate, so he buys houses and flips houses. We actually spoke to students at St. George's prep school in Middletown, Rhode Island, about a week and a half ago. My brother works in admissions days, the head basketball coach. So it's just like if you know people that can help put you in a better place or that can give you some information that you don't know, you have to build. Like that whole crabs in a bucket mentality, like be done with it. Like I will ask somebody. Like before this interview, I asked Noah, how do you think this interview is going to go? Like that's just how I am. Like when you feel like you're too good or too smart to ask questions or reach out to people that can help you, it's a wrap. Like that's just me in general. So
Okay. I see one from Buddy. It says, "What's your opinion around your presence?" I'm not sure exactly where you're coming from with that, but I'll ask you later. So we talked about kids. We talked about what's coming, and one of the biggest things I will put out there is investing.
yeah,
A lot of minorities play catch up with their investment, especially if they work, the 401ks,
yeah,
the IRAs. And one thing I've been doing and learning a lot is just investing, right?
yeah,
And invested like the oil. A lot of people are talking about, man, gas prices are low, but I can't I ain't got nowhere to go. And
yeah,
I'm like, and I really talk about, I try to teach, you're always going to have to be a consumer in some extent
yeah,
to, survive, but try to have that ownership. So when everyone was talking about gas prices today, I went on and bought some oil EFTs, right? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
Sectors. Is that something that you ever looked into, like investing or whatnot?
I definitely have, and my actually same thing. Probably about a day or so ago, Tyrone, one of my buddies, he was on here earlier. I don't know if he's still on here. He asked me the same thing, like, "How you doing? Like with investments? Have you looked into it?" It's something that I'm still fairly new at, but you have to do it. Like you have to look into it. My brother, what we talked about at St. George's when me and Jonathan were involved, it was in regards to financial literacy for minority students. It's not something that you're taught at an early age. So unfortunately, unless most things are shoved down your throat, you're not going to learn them. But it is something that the younger generations need to be taught, whether we do it on a Saturday or an online seminar. Most people like myself, Jonathan, my brother Dwayne, we all grew up to survive. So it's different. Like when you grow up in survival mode versus growing up and being able to possibly set the next generation up with a head start versus what you had. So we're talking to students that are going to a school that's $65,000 a year. So obviously these students have already gotten a head start. Like I told them, look, take advantage of every opportunity St. George's is giving you, because we didn't have that opportunity. And I made one of my infamous corny jokes. I'm like, look, if I went to St. George's at your age, I would be doing this Zoom presentation from Dubai. So it's just, there's a difference. Like a lot of us at early ages weren't exposed to the stuff that kids can get now. Now back then, let's say when I'm 15 years old, it sounds crazy, but there's no internet to do this research on. So if you're a parent or an older brother or a mentor, you can direct people to these resources that are online that are going to help set these kids up. There's a friend of mine, I don't know if she's still in here, Josie. She just wrote a book, and a book of poetry, and she always
Conversation with Josie, right?
Exactly. And
yeah, she just put she put up Robin Hood. I was gonna shout her out.
Great person. So she always talks about how her oldest son just has that mentality. Like he goes to school, but he's always looking for like the next thing. And that's not something that's born into everybody. So sometimes if you don't know, you can't do it. Like with the events, I always say, if you don't know, you can't go. But if you weren't exposed to that at an early age, sometimes you just have to have somebody teach it to you.
Yeah, no. And conversation with Josie, she just put up, and she's right. Something that I use, and I give the link out to some people, is Robinhood. It's easy to look at, but I do use Robinhood, and I use Robinhood and Fidelity.com, because a lot of people don't know is that you could actually use your health savings account to invest.
Yeah.
So that's a good way. But Buddy had he re-put his question up. He said, given your accomplishments, what are you most proud of now?
Yeah, my kids. Like, it's not anything business related. It's like I have two great daughters. Business wise, I'm most proud of the fact that I've worked, like the nightclub business is probably the most shadiest business area ever. I've been doing it 20 plus years. I don't owe anybody $1. That's what I'm most proud of. Like I'm always me. Like what you see is what you get, whether it's online or in person. And I always tell you, like, bet on yourself. Don't take shorts. Don't take bad deals. A deal is a deal. Like it's basic business principles. Like my boy Frank Sylvia, we call him Frankie Benz. He always says, like, act like you've been there before. Like doing business the right way is so easy, but people will literally break their neck to do something the wrong way. If you make a deal, honor it. If you owe somebody money, pay them. Like it's very simple. Like there's not a lot of people out there that are going to think the way that you think. Like the stuff that I bring into business is literally just how I was raised. Somebody burns you once, fuck them. Like I don't go back. Like there's no point. Like it's when someone shows you who they are, believe them. That's in life and in business. So I'm far from like an angel or a model citizen, but it's like if you give somebody a word, you keep it. And if you make a deal, you honor it. If you're supposed to pay somebody, you pay them. Like it's really basic. And honestly, you might get yourself into a situation where you can't pay somebody. You let them know, hey, I didn't get you this time, I get you next time. But being a decent business person is really not rocket science. Some people make it harder than what it is. You see it, especially with social media. You see people like balling out of control, but they owe your boy money. So it's just like, I don't know.
Now, the funny thing is, and I'm not gonna put names out there, but there was certain individuals that used to tell me they make like at their job 200K, 150K, and then now I see them on Instagram talking about they waiting for their stimulus check. I'm like, if you making 200K, how you getting a stimulus check?
Yeah, it's crazy,
you know,
man.
and
The world is crazy. It's always been like that. The thing is now is it's right in front of our face. Like, it's just, you are who you are. And like, this is the first time I ever did an Instagram live. Like, I'm like, God, because it's really not me. But you're such a stand-up dude that I have, I don't mind doing it with you. But you are who you are, and that's pretty much it.
No, thank you. And so I'll end it. Is so question.
Yeah.
With all honesty.
Oh boy.
With all honesty, I know you're a Raiders fan.
Oh yeah, die hard. Don't ask me no Tom Brady questions.
So Tom Brady was going to bring the ball back. He was. He said it.
Definitely.
But
without a doubt.
But the rule was the rule, right?
The rule is the rule.
All right, so because I have Raider fans, they all like, no, you shouldn't have had. I'm like, yo, everyone knows. I admit he was bringing it down, but the rule's the rule.
This is, though, what I will say to this is the video evidence has to be inconclusive. There's not one person in the world that could say that was inconclusive. To overturn that call, I actually sat through that game too, so I think I caught a small case of pneumonia back then. But if you want to throw that in my face now, Manny, after this good interview, go ahead, knock yourself out.
No, and one other question that me and my wife like to ask at the end of our interviews: what goes into the bowl first, cereal or milk?
Oh, come on, man! If your wife puts milk first, she's a serial killer.
No,
always goes first, man. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you can't put the milk first.
But yo, me and her are shocked that so many put milk first, then pour the cereal. And I was like, whoa.
Those are MAGA people. Only people that vote for Trump do that.
All right. So it's your floor, right?
Yeah.
What do you want to tell people? Because really, there's a lot of people, and it's weird because, you know, they hit me up on the side or whatnot that want to get into entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
And I know you can't say stuff in general, but what would you like to tell them to end it off?
The best thing in life is making money doing something you like. So if you can figure out a way, like whether it's a hobby, a job you have now, something you're passionate about, if you can turn something you're passionate about into a profit, like, it's such a win. Once you find the lane that you want to go into, bet on yourself. Make sure you have halfway decent credit or at least a good representation. If you have both, you would be able to borrow money from a bank, or you can reach out to one of your people that can help you out as well. It doesn't matter how good your plan is or your idea is, if it's stuck in your head, you got to at some point just put it into action. So one thing, like the last few years, I've been a little bit more hesitant than I was when I was younger to pull the trigger, but you got to pull the trigger. Like, at the end of the day, you have more to lose by not pulling the trigger than you have to gain. So do a little bit of background research. Team up with good people, man. Like, don't be afraid to do it on your own. Like, I am a blessed person in regards to, like, my friends and family. There's so many different people I can reach out to that I have the utmost confidence in and that I would do business with at the drop of a dime. Don't be afraid to ask questions, do the research, but go with your gut. Like, if it's something that you think will work, like, bet on yourself. Like, money is always going to come and go. Like, you're going to be fine at the end of the day. Like, even with this pandemic, it sucks because there's some people that are, like, so stressed, but you're going to be good. Like, we all have gone through stuff and we all bounce back from it. So I would say, like, find something you're passionate about, find good people to work with, and do it. That's it. And if you don't do it, like nobody wants to hear the guy that talks all the time. Yo, yeah, like nobody wants to hear that. And we all know somebody like that. So you got to just do it.
Yep. And there's a Chinese proverb that says, in the midst of chaos, there's always opportunity.
Agreed. And again, like with the times now is tough. Like for me, it's whatever. Like it's there's nothing you can do. Like you control the controllable. This is something that we can't control. If you find peace and you are a little bit creative now, and you think you got a little direction or a lane you want to go into, start looking up some information now. Not everybody has peace during this time. Like you don't have to come out of this with a new business plan. Come out of it with your sanity and you'll be good. We're going to be fine. Like we're resilient people. Americans are a very arrogant group of people, and we all know it all. So because we're so arrogant and we all know it all, whatever way it takes for us to get through this, we're going to get through it. So don't overthink it and drive yourself crazy. Every small business owner I know is stressing now, but every small business owner I know, they're on their shit. So you got to just bet on yourself. We'll bounce back. That's how I look at it.
All right, man. So we got one more minute, man. I just want to say thank you for coming on. And what did I tell you? You're a cool dude. You keep it real, so it's gonna be easy. And man, there's a lot of you gave bet on yourself. If you have the ability to see a problem, you should have the ability to find a solution, or pay someone to find that solution for your business. But I'm gonna repost this. Man, you gave a lot of nuggets. You kept it real. E-commerce, real estate. I'm gonna have a lot more of these conversations for everyone else out there. Keep it tuned. I still have Shawn's email, or my wife have Shawn's email comment pinned at the bottom. You can hit him up, DM him. He's a real cool guy. If you come to him with BS, he's gonna let you know it's BS. I just tell you that. But yo, thank you. And thank you to everyone that's on and stay through the whole thing.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate the opportunity, man. Take it easy, man.